Okay, so we've all seen this show. And if you haven't, I don't know how to help you, but okay. So, due to this show, we all came to know of a man called Ertugrul, who is said to be the father of the first Ottoman emperor, Osman. But the thing is, this show is a historical fiction. And even when I watched it, my interest was piqued and I wanted to know that who is this guy? But not the historical fiction version. What does actual history say about him? And that's exactly what I'm going to be telling you in this video. Hi, my name is Misha and welcome to Tarihi Tales. So here we talk about history and it's evidence-based and researched, and I give you the links down below in the description box. Okay, so as I mentioned, this show is a historical fiction. Now, first of all, what is a historical fiction, right? A historical fiction is basically a story that it could be a book, it could be a play, it could be a drama like this one. It's a story that is set in the past, and the story intersects with real life historical events that happened during that time period. But a lot of the times, the characters and their daily lives, all of that has to be imagined or made up because we can't possibly know what happened, right? And that is the fiction bit, hence historical fictions. Now, to understand how much of this show is actually the fiction part and how much of it is the historical bit, we first need to understand how history is written. And it's even more important in this specific case because the origins of the Ottoman Empire are actually very highly debated among historians. Now, the reason for this is that, sometimes there's so many sources, there's so many written artifacts or like actual artifacts that people find that it's easy to piece the history back together. But in the case of the Ottoman histories, the first written document that we get from the official Ottoman court historians is almost 150 years after Osman dies. Now, even though those chronicles basically do mention how the empire started, but Western historians were very quick to dismiss all of them, saying that there's no possible way of knowing exactly what happened because it happened so long ago, and even this history that we found has been recorded so much later that there's a lot of gray area and things could have changed. And yes, while that is true, things could have changed. The thing is that it's not like those Turk tribes were not recording their histories. They were, but in a different format. Their histories were mostly oral, they were narrated in the form of songs, in the form of stories. A similar tradition is actually something that was followed in the subcontinent for a very long time, and those histories were also easily dismissed when the British came. More on that in some other video. So basically, it is possible that some form of the actual truth was preserved and was being presented in those chronicles. But a lot of Western historians initially they kind of dismissed the entire idea. Now, obviously, I'm oversimplifying it for you guys over here because there's a lot of actual detail as to how the oversimplification or the mix up in the translations happened and all of that. And if you want more details, you can go down below in the description box and check out the links. They're filled with these details. Okay, but coming to the modern day historians, now recently, there have been some work that has been done by Turkish historians and other notable historians which claim that these initial histories, the official histories written by the Ottoman court historians, they're not all lies. A lot of the things that they're saying probably did happen. So, based on that, I'm going to be telling you the story of Ertuğrul. So, almost all the official histories of the Ottoman Empire agree upon the fact that this guy called Ertuğrul was given lands by the Seljuk king of the time. These lands were located on the frontier of the empire and they were near the area of So. Now, as I mentioned, some historians like the notable H.A. Gibbons, they found this idea absurd because they just thought it's very unlikely that a king just gave somebody else lands, okay, go and rule. But modern research says that if you look at what was going on around the area, this was actually quite a common practice among kings. And they were given these lands as principalities. They were attached to these states, but they were kind of taking care of the borders. And that's exactly what Ertuğrul was doing. There are other sources, for example, when the famous traveler Ibn Battuta traveled through this area in the year 1340, he records 25 different principalities that he saw in this area. So, now historians claim that it's quite likely that this is true. He must have been given lands because this was something very normal at the time. According to the same histories, Ertuğrul did in fact belong to a tribe called the Kai tribe. Some historians also accept the claim that the ancestors of this tribe and these people came into Armenia under the leadership of a guy called Suleiman, who was also the father of Ertugrul, the same as the show kind of shows, right? So that bit is true. They say he belonged to the army of Khwarezm, Shah Jalaluddin Mankoberti. The story goes that Suleiman later tried to go back to Khorasan, but he actually ended up drowning in a river. So his son Ertugrul is basically left in charge, and he's granted those lands by the Seljuk king for his assistance and his help during the wars. And it is said that he went and settled there with about 400 families. There is some debate among historians if that number is correct. Another historian called Caroline Finkel actually mentions the finding of a coin. Now, this coin, it's undated, and that is the issue because it has no date, so we don't know which time period it belongs to. I mean, there's carbon dating, but there's still some confusion. The historian basically says that if this coin is actually genuine, then we actually have physical proof of the existence of Ertuğrul as Osman's father because the coin has an inscription on it which says, minted by Osman, son of Ertuğrul. Then the same coin would also signify that Osman by that point had started independent rule because even in those times, only the head of states could be minting coins in their names. Not everybody could do that. So that's basically what we know about Ertuğrul from the historical accounts. We do find the tomb of Ertuğrul in the same area that was allotted to him, but historians say that the tomb has by now been rebuilt so many times that nothing of the original structure remains. So it cannot be confidently attributed to Osman. You can't say that Osman definitely built it, but that is what is speculated. So here you go. I know it's short, but that's all we know about this character Ertuğrul in real life. And it is possible we might know more in the future, but for now, this is it. And now we know everything else in the show is kind of the fiction bit. Okay, see you next time.